Hey guys, Kev here, and I want to do a knife ramble talking about collecting and types of collectors, I guess, and how there's no wrong way to be a collector, and people who tell you to do it one way or another can eat it. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Dark Gravity. I believe he's the one who recommended this idea. So I always try to remember who it was, but I always forget. So I hope it's Dark Gravity. Thank you, dude. Really appreciate it. So, what kind of collector am I, basically? It would be a good way to start this. I have some knives on the table. I'll go through them, obviously, tell you what they are, and we can kind of talk about them. If you have any questions about anything, please let me know in the comments. And if you have any ideas, of course, please let me know as well. It's weird. There's different types of collectors, and I don't know how to categorize myself, I guess. So it's not really a good way to start. I'm not the kind of guy who collects knives just to have knives and to, have safe queens. You know what I mean? I don't have any safe queens. There's no knives in my collection I won't use. There's obviously knives that are very nice and expensive. Like this here is a CKF Custom Knife Factory Satori 2.0 with a Johnny T custom Zircuti clip. So all in all, this knife is probably worth around $850, something like that, with the clip. And this is the blackwash with two-way satin version anyway. By the way, sorry. But that doesn't mean I won't use it. I'll use it for whatever if I have to. But if at the same time I have my Devo knife stout in my pocket, which this knife was designed by myself and Colin Mason Pierre. We run Devo knives. Pre-order for this is on April 9th at 1 p.m. on our website, devoknives.com. Please check it out if you haven't. We have a mailing list if you want to jump on that as well. But this is more of what I would call a user style knife. It's going to be around $280, right? 260, 270 bucks, something like, what is it? 270 or 280, sorry. But you're not going to be afraid to use this, I don't think. Now, some people might be because they're a different type of collector, right? They're a different type of knife guy, really. But for me, this knife is in that price range where it's super comfortable in hand. It has a fantastic blade design and edge. A good blade steel, all of that stuff goes into it. And if I were to chip the edge or whatever, I can just have either myself or someone sharpen it. Not a big deal, right? If I put a little scratch in here, it doesn't bother me at all. I could probably find another one if I have to. But showing a little bit of love marks on your knife to me is not a negative. It's probably a positive. But let's say I was carrying both of these. My first instinct would be to take out the Devo for two reasons. One, it's just going to be better at whatever I'm doing. It's going to be better than this. Just is. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's something that this crazy Tanto does better than this, but I don't think so, personally. So I would take this out for that reason. Second, I don't want to mess this up if I don't have to because of the price point. I have another option. Why wouldn't I use that, right? But what I'm saying is, if this was all I was carrying that day and I had to go cut up a bunch of cardboard, I would do it without hesitation. I would not be like, oh, I got to run back home or run wherever and get a new knife, right? No. So that's one thing. I'll use any knife. I'll carry any knife, right? But there are people who are safe queen guys. They buy knives like this is a custom from JG, I guess it's just JG. I don't know. Jason Guthrie Custom Scout. This is the Scout. Very coveted knife, guys. This is a Lefty Scout with black micarta. I don't know the steel hand rub blade, right? Really, really nice. It's on Teflon washers, actually. Really good action on Teflon. One stud here. But this is the kind of knife someone would get and probably just not use. They would maybe carry it occasionally. This is loaned in by, oh man, come on, Kev. He runs the Tony. He runs the EDC for Lefties group with Charlie. Sorry, Tony, totally blank there. He loaned this to me, which was awesome. you know? But, like, I'm pretty sure he carries this, but I can't be certain. I haven't, because it's not my knife, and it's very, hard to replace. I just wouldn't. But I don't see any marks, like, on the clip. I just don't, I don't see a bunch of wear on it anywhere. Not saying he doesn't use it. Maybe he does, but, like, doesn't look like it, which is good, because it's a custom, and maybe he wants to keep it fresh. And there's guys who have a whole collection of just knives like this, right? They only collect customs. That's kind of what Tony does. He only collects customs, and he only collects custom lefties. Okay? He has like 2 production knives or whatever. One of which he loaned me, which is a production Best Tech lefty. So he only has lefty knives. Like, so, there's people like that who just collect customs. Maybe they carry them, maybe they don't, but that's their thing, right? Then there's the budget guys. There's the guys who only buy budget knives. Now, this is not a budget knife. This is $130, $140. But to me, budget is under $100. So let's use the Kubi Royal here, the KU321 Collins design. Let's use that for reference. There's guys who will only be in this price range. They won't spend more than $100. Some won't spend more than $60. And, but the funny thing with those guys is, and again, nothing against these guys, they tend to have like 100 of these, right? They have 100 budget knives that are all worth $50. And then they are like, well, man, I would never spend $330 on a knife. Well, you're just buying 7, of these instead of buying one of these. I'd rather have one of these personally. But again, to each their own, right? So there's those guys, the budget guys, right? Then there's the budget guys who are just like, that's all they buy, and they don't have many knives either. So those are the true budget guys, I guess. But I think most people, if you think about it, collecting knives, most people take the same progression that I've taken, and you start with this, right? Or you start with the shit gas station knife, or, the Boker, whatever you bought at the gun shop, that kind of shit, right? Or some kind of gift. And then you get into the niche budget knives or whatever. You work your way up. You realize, well, I bought 5 of these Kubis. Guess I could sell, if I sold like 3 of those, I could get a Benchmade bug out, right? So then you get a bug out, right? And then you start getting into bug outs and Benchmades and Spydercos, and you start broadening your horizons a little bit. You start spending a little bit more at a time, right? And eventually you're buying, the next freaking sprint run of whatever Spyderco comes out. And then you kind of progress to, some kind of Chinese-made knife like this that's OEM'd over there. It's maybe like $300, something like that, $250, $300. And you realize the value in that. You end up checking out Riots, right? And you realize how good Riot-made knives are, so you get into those. And then, or maybe you're an American-made only guy, right? That's your thing, So you go, right to bug outs and Benchmades and Spydercos, and then you got to make a pretty big jump up to your first Chris Reeve or your first Medford or Hinder or whatever. And some guys just stop there. That's it, But most of us, we keep going. We climb the ladder. We keep spending more money. You end up with a knife like this that's $640 or whatever. And then you start getting into customs. And that's when the wheels fall off. That's when you get into stuff like, Craig Brown Knives or Oz Machine Company or Trevor Berger, right? You just start getting into that stuff. And maybe like some guys like me prefer this kind of stuff. What I call a sort of like production custom. It's a CNC custom, I guess is a better way for it. Like A lot of this is done on a CNC machine or whatever, but it's hand-tuned, whatever. It's small batch. That's what I would classify these guys as. I think Trevor Burgers are actually like fully handmade from what I understand. That's insane, but the level of quality is outrageous. So that's my sweet spot is this. This is my favorite thing in the knife community right now is to get a knife like this, a CNC custom. But then you have the guys who just really love the handmade stuff. I think these are handmade, like fully handmade. Gavcos, stuff like that. I actually just had a custom Tough Knives knife made. I believe that's the same way, fully handmade. And guys who just have collections of that stuff. That's all they have now is crazy expensive collection. And it keeps going, guys. Like, talk to Knaff Sergeant. I mean, he's got knives that are $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. And dudes just have collections of those, you know, like that's crazy. So I don't know. I don't have a point here. I'm not building up to anything. I'm just trying to think of all the different types of collectors and collecting. You know, you got your budget guy, you got your custom guy, you got your me guy who just I like everything, right? Yes, my tastes have evolved to be more premium to where, you know, this is kind of like my, you know, this to this is kind of like my sweet spot, you know, throw the Rosie in there. Anywhere from, you know, $250 to, you know, $1,000 is kind of like my sweet spot. Will I spend more than that? Yeah, but like it's got to be something really special, and I gotta, you know, sell a few things to make that happen and whatever. But like the Riot made OEM stuff, like that's the sweet spot for me. That's where I think you get the best bang. Oh, Jesus. That's where I think you get literally bang. That's where I think you get the best bang for your buck is in this sweet spot right here. In this sweet spot right here. You're paying $270 for this knife here, and you're getting 20 CV. A titanium bolster lock design with carbon fiber and copper infused. This one's aluminum. Or you're getting my card, you're getting the wire clip, you're getting drop shut action and an epic detent. All in a I think a reasonable priced package, right? And then, you know, you go to Riot, you just basically add $50 to this, and you get a little more finishing, maybe a little bit more polished on the action. Maybe not as drop shut, depends on the design, right? That's the sweet spot for me as a collector, right? But that's up to everybody, you know, that's to each their own situation. But yeah, like I collect everything. I try everything I can, and I keep knives in my collection like this that are $50 that are awesome, right? I don't have many of these, but I have like 2 or 3, but I will find them, and when they're good, I'll keep them, like, you know. And it just ranges, right? Then there's the guys who only buy American. That's all they'll buy, which is fine. That's, you have your way of doing it. As long as you're not going around shitting on everybody else's way of doing it. Because that's the only time it bothers me is when people have their way and they only buy flipper knives and they go around saying, well, that knife sucks because it's a, you know, it has no flipper tab. Like that knife's garbage. Nobody should buy it, right? Like for me personally, when I review this knife, this is the Axial Knives NZ folder. I'm going to say that this is a good knife. This is a good EDC knife, little folder, great sheep's foot blade, good ergos, great detent, great action, very well made knife, 20 CV. It's not for me because it's a flipper only. You know, I need a hole for deployment or a front flipper with it, you know. But that doesn't take away from the fact that this is a good knife. That does not take away from the fact that some of you should own this, will own this, and will love it, right? And I try to be clear about that in my reviews. But people go around just shitting on stuff because it's not their way. You know what I mean? This one here is the Riot Jack 1.5 integral with I think it's Timascos or Mokutai, Dokutai, Dogshit Pie on the pivot collar or on the pivot and the clip. Really cool. It makes a squeak when you close it. Can you hear it? Hold on. I don't know. Maybe you can't hear it, but put a little KPL in there to try to get it drop a little more, and I think it worked. This is cool. It has dark matter, red dark matter scales. This is the Demco 80/20.5. Then there's this type of collector too. There's the guy who mods everything. Maybe he mods his own knives. Maybe he buys knives like Sinister Knife. Sinister's an awesome dude. Love that guy. Duke's awesome. And the knife modders. There's other people who do it, like Stasa 23. There's guys who only buy knives to mod, and then there's guys like Stasa who do both. But like, there's people who buy knives just to mod them. Like, that's all they do. Their whole collection is just knives they bought and modded or whatever, right? That's a style of collecting, making it your own. I think that's cool. The 20.5 here has these 80s fat carbon scales. I think it's from Camo Carbon. It's really cool. It's really grown on me. I didn't like it at first, but I'm really digging it. Then you have the collector who only collects certain brands or styles. So this is a Finch knife. This is the Roadrunner here. Like dudes who only collect Finches. That's the whole thing is just Finches, right? But they have every single one, right? Or they only collect buck knives or sacks, right? That's a big one. Swiss Army knives. That's all they have. And that's cool. That's awesome. You really like something that much that's all you'll collect. Cool, right? Do your thing, man. Do your thing. I think I've covered all the knives. This is the Wear Knives Lucas P. This has been modded as well. It has a hole in it now. It came with studs. And I added this ZT clip to make it an actual clip. The other one was just really shallow carry. So yeah, I don't have like an overarching point here. I just wanted to talk about the different collecting types. There's guys who don't collect really. They just buy and flip knives all the time. But they have a collection of knives, you know. But they like to just buy knives and then sell them and try to make money. Like that guy I don't like. I don't like that guy. I don't even know if that counts as a collector. There's your Spyderco collector, right? Kind of like the guy I was saying collects this. Guys who only collect every version of the Para 3 or PM2. The guy talked to Thomas Moore from the Millie PM2 Para 3 Club or on Instagram. The dude had like 3 of every sprint run. 1 to carry, 1 as a backup, and 1 as a backup, right? Like crazy. And he had that for every sprint run of Para 3 and PM2, I think. Like, that's insane. No, I don't mean he's insane. I just mean that's crazy to have that many. He sold a bunch of them off. He went through like a renaissance. But like, there's that kind of guy. You know what I mean? Just has to have a second one. Because what if I, what if I scratch the clip or what if I lose it, then there's the guy who sees the collection as an investment, right? Like he buys this knife and he's not going to mod it because that'll make it not factory. He doesn't carry it. He just leaves it in the box, but he knows he has that knife, right? And he sees it as an investment. He's like, in 10 years, somebody's going to be looking for that Lucas P and they're not going to be there. And I can throw it up on eBay for whatever. Or maybe he just feels special because he has a knife like that, Yeah, you get my point. There's a lot of different collectors. I'm sure I left a bunch out. Let me know which one you are down in the comments. I'd be really curious to hear which one you are. I think the best way to explain me is I love knives. I will try most anything unless I think it looks like dog shit from the get-go. Then I won't even really want to try it. But I like to experience as many as I can. And I am open to keeping whichever knives turn out to be good, however much expensive they are or cheap they are. But I'm also the guy who looks at his collection and says, I have too many knives. I need to sell some stuff. One, because I'm not made of money, and two, because I just don't need all these knives. Like, there's no point in me having 100 knives. There's dudes who have like 300 knives. Great. That's great for you. Some of those guys just can't let go. Shout out to Backpack B and Javon. They have so many knives. They keep buying like we do. When I say we, I mean me. Like, I buy just as much as they do. But I sell a lot of what comes in because it doesn't work for me. I already have one. I just need to move stuff, and that's what's on the chopping block. I haven't carried it. That's my biggest reason for selling something. But there's guys who, one, they have the money, they have the income, they're not hurting to buy more knives. They don't need to sell knives. Like, I a lot of times need to sell knives to get new knives, right? That's just how it works. But there's guys who don't have that problem, and they just don't sell knives. They just have knives. Every knife they get, it stays. My collection would be absolutely ridiculous if I had kept every knife I've ever come across. And I've literally only been like into the collecting for 2 years. And I probably would have like 500 knives right now. I just can't do that. Like, I don't need them either, right? Like, I have this case over here with 60 knives. That's my limit. Once that thing's full, I don't know. Like, I just never really let it get full. I look at it, I see as it fills up, and then I grab stuff to sell it, to move stuff, just to get it out of there. Like, I just don't need that many. If I can't carry it, there's no point. And if I have 60 knives, I can't carry them all. Within a month, that's kind of my thing. Like, a month, I need to be able to put you in pocket, or you're just not sticking around. So I usually have about 10 open slots at a time, and I try to fill it and unfill it and go from there, you know. But that's my style, guys. That might not be the right way for you, you know. And I'll say, now that I've started this brand, and I'm hopefully going to have a successful pre-order with the Devo Stout, I'm less interested in a lot of knives I own. This is what's taking up my pocket time all the time, right? So we evolve and we change as people, and we need to allow ourselves to do that, and we need to allow others to do that. So there is a moral to this video, and it is, be kind to people. Try to be empathetic, guys. That's my biggest thing in life, is just try to see how another person feels. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Next time you want to give somebody shit about their collection or how they do this or that, just think about how you do it. Think about if your way is really the best way. And, go from there. Just try to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. I don't know. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments. What kind of collector are you? List some other ones I sort of left out. And I apologize. This one was a little all over the place. But I love you guys. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. And I will catch you later.